do we heal? I think that's the $1,000,000 question. Before we even get to the how, why is it that we decide to get on this crazy, arduous, sometimes painful path of healing? Because it's so confronting, it's so traumatizing. So, why do we do it? Welcome to the Healing is a Hustle podcast. I'm your host, Jay Chantalangsi, and I'm going to try to dissect that $1,000,000 question and hopefully give you some clarity of why people decide to heal. And maybe it might give you your reason of why you want to heal. So I believe firmly that everyone has to do the work of healing because it transcends everything in your life, gives you a lot of clarity, gives you a lot of perspective, and all the things that you've experienced kind of gives you a good reason of why you went through what you had to go through. And everyone, I believe, has something to heal from. But to the $1,000,000 question, why? Why do we all of a sudden decide to do this? Because like I mentioned before, and I'm going to continue to mention, this is not a journey for the faint of heart because it takes a lot of energy, it takes a lot of bravery, courage, strength at times, depending on what you've been through in your life. It takes all of that. And you have to decide and choose moment by moment, day by day to heal. So why? I've broken down the why into 5 different things. I call it the 5 Ds of why we decide to heal. And as you can imagine, they all start with D. And it's not that only one of these things will kickstart your journey to healing or will be the catalyst of why you decide to be on this journey. It could be multiple things. One might really stand out, one or two might stand out, or you might even have gone through all of them. So, as I share this, I want you to think about all the things that happen in your life to see if this resonates with you. And I'm going to go one by one and give you an explanation. I'll also share my journey and the catalyst that kick-started my own healing journey. So let's get into it. The first D is diagnosis. I'm sure you know someone in your life close to you. It might be a parent, a sibling, someone you really love and cherish, or a friend maybe, that has gone through something life-threatening, life-changing, that they went to the doctor or they went to a routine checkup, and then they get this life-threatening diagnosis. That can change someone's perspective. That can change someone's trajectory in their life and cause them to heal, to start reflecting on their own lives, to start reflecting on their behaviors, their relationships, the direction in their own lives and how they impact others. I myself have gone through that with multiple people in my life, and it makes you wonder if that ever happened to you, how would you react? What would you do? You would feel scared, have a lot of fear maybe, frustrated, You might start to feel confused, but then after all those feelings, you start to reflect about your own life and maybe the limited time that you have in this life to do the things that you want to do, or to reconcile, or to apologize, or to be different, to heal. Right? Those are all facets of healing. So diagnosis, if you've gone through that, that can definitely be the catalyst to why you want to start your healing journey. That's the first D. Second D is death. Not necessarily you, but someone close to you, someone that you love and cherish, someone you look up to, someone you've had a lot of fond memories with and experiences with. And all of a sudden, if they transition, if they pass away, that can make you reflect about your own life. You will start missing their energy, their companionship, their friendship, their advice, just them being around you. And it might feel lonely. And in that loneliness, in that depth of despair, because now you don't have that person near you, that can make you wonder about your own life. Right? That can make you think about where you want to be. And if you want to continue this life on that same path. For myself, the person that caused me the most trauma, which was my father, when he passed away, it was very difficult. And I never got to reconcile with him of all the things that he did to me, but it affected me tremendously. And sometimes I wish I had that conversation with him. And his passing was very abrupt, but I got to spend a little bit of time with him, but we never had that closure conversation, right? I had that experience long after he passed away, and it was something that I experienced through energy healing. But did it change me? Of course. I felt immense feelings of compassion, forgiveness. Everything just left my body. The resentment, the anger, and frustration I had towards him for all the things that he did also left my body. And it was a very crazy experience, but a healing experience. And then that was one of the reasons why I decided to get on this journey, because I didn't want to repeat the same behaviors he had towards me to my own children. And I was already seeing that I was doing that. And so when he wasn't here anymore, that's when I decided to really focus on how to be better, how to be a better partner, a better communicator, a better father, right? So that's the second D, death. Death of a loved one or someone close to you. The third D is divorce or breakup. But divorce just means to break away, separate from someone that you're in a relationship with, right? And maybe you've gone through this multiple times in your life. I know I have. When you put yourself into a relationship and you give it your all your energy, all your attention, you try to do your best, and then after X amount of years, you break up, what tends to happen? You tend to feel sad, upset, anger, all those emotions. But then you get this kind of reflection and you say, man, I want to be better. I want to do better. So when the next person comes, I'll be at my best, right? I remember I had breakups and I would go to the gym, start eating healthy, just trying to look better, do all these things to feel better in the moment because the breakup was hard. So that's when you start to kickstart your own healing journey, because now you want to be better for that next person. Not necessarily for yourself, but depending on where you are in your awareness and your healing, most times when you break up with someone, you're trying to do it to attract the next person, right? Now, when you look at that behavior, you might tell yourself like, oh man, now that I'm by myself, I want to do these things for myself. But why didn't you do it for yourself in the relationship? Right? And most of us forget that in a relationship, you're supposed to continually work on yourself as well as supporting your partner or your spouse. But like I mentioned earlier, if you're not on that level of awareness for yourself and you are projecting on your partner, or you are taking advantage of them, right? Then once you split up and break up, it's like a part of you leaves and then you don't know what to do. But in that pain, in that suffering, in that heartbreak, what happens? You get inspired to work on yourself, right? It's crazy. It's crazy that we have to go through so much pain to then have this spark of motivation to now work on ourselves, right? And that could be a catalyst for future healing. And I always say, like, you can only heal yourself by yourself up to a certain level. But when you get into a relationship, it's a whole another level of healing. And it's only that when you get into a relationship will you realize the other things that you need to heal from, because your partner is going to reflect and be the mirror of the things that you still need to work on. And we can get into that in another episode. But that is the third D, divorce. Okay. D number 4, disaster. Now, what do I mean by disaster? It could be anything from experiencing a natural disaster, a tragedy, accidents, right? Things that you might have felt that was like not your timing. For example, when I was living in Hawaii, I had gotten into a head-on collision. I fell asleep at the wheel and I collided with another car. And this is right after my father died. And I was shuffling my aunties from the temple back home, and I was driving back and forth, and I had no sleep. I was up for 3 days, feeling really emotional. I remember I was even smoking a cigarette to keep awake at the wheel driving, but for some reason I fell asleep and I hit a truck with 3 people head on, and I walked away with barely a bruise from my seatbelt. But the other car, he had to, one of them had to be taken to the hospital. No one died or anything like that, but it was one of those accidents where it could have changed the trajectory of my life. It could have just ended my life. And I really had to think about how lucky I was. So that is an example of like an accident, right? You can think about war, you can think about natural disasters, hurricanes that tear through the homes, fires, anything. But that amount of suffering, that amount of instant change can definitely put you on your healing journey, because it's going to make you reflect about your own life and how it can get taken away from you in an instant. And just knowing that could be a huge motivator for you to start doing the work for yourself, because you never know, right? Tomorrow is never promised. So that is D number 4. And the last D is depletion. Now, I resonated with this a lot because this was the one that accelerated me to get on my healing journey. It is when you are so exhausted, so depleted energetically, emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally. And out of that depletion and desperation, you start to question your own existence. You start to question your own self. You start to question your life. Like, is this it? Am I going to be living this way for the rest of my life? Because this is just total and utter suffering, right? And for me, at the time, it was with my wife, and we were just fighting and bickering and staying up late because we were mad at each other and just not communicating. And this was going on for years. And I was so exhausted. I didn't know what to do. And I was easily triggered. I was blaming things on her. I didn't know at the time that a lot of my triggers and the reason why I behaved that way and said the things that I said to her was because of my own shit, my own trauma, the things that I haven't addressed, the things that I wasn't even aware of, but it was coming out as all of these negative behaviors, right? So for me, I came to a point of total exhaustion. Like I was tired all the time. I couldn't even work. I couldn't even think straight. And I was like burning the candle on both ends type of deal. And one day I just had it. I was done with the suffering. I was done being tired. And I just remember sitting in front of the mirror, asking myself the question, like, what do you want with your life? This cannot be what your life is going to be like for the next 5-10 years. I knew that I didn't want to leave my wife. I could not see myself without her. So something had to change. And that was the moment that made me decide to work on myself, to begin this healing journey and to take it really serious. Because I'm thinking to myself, this is going to be the rest of my life. Right? I'm going to grow old with this woman, with my wife. I'm going to have kids. I'm going to be with the kids. I'm not going to get a divorce. I don't see myself without her, but I cannot go living my life like this anymore. So what am I going to do? And then out of that desperation, the curiosity starts to kick in. The curiosity of me asking the right questions to myself in the mirror. Like, why are you so angry? Why are you like this? Why are you triggered all the time? How come you're so easily irritated? And once I started to ask those questions, I became very silent with myself. Even though I'm tired out of my mind, for some reason, everything becomes still. Everything becomes silent. And in that silence, you start to explore, out of curiosity, the possible answers. And they come. Slowly but surely, they come. And for many years after that moment, I had to do a lot of reflection. I had to do a lot of dissection. of my own behaviors, of my own beliefs, of my own thoughts, and try to figure out where it came from. Like, why was I acting the way I was acting? Why was that I would get angry so easily? And I had to admit to myself, yeah, I had an anger issue. I was insecure, I had an anger issue, I was easily triggered, right? And the way I would behave when I was angry was punishing my wife with the silent treatment, punching things, right? Just acting crazy. So I had to really understand why I would behave that way. And it took a long time. It took a long time for me to really put things together. And I read a lot of things. I listened to a lot of podcasts, and I was going to therapy, right? So all these things helped me understand the root cause of why I behaved that way. And it was due to a lot of unresolved emotions, suppression of emotions from my childhood, from previous relationships, from all the things that happened in my past that I didn't address. Instead, I was just suppressing and repressing. And now, if something triggered me, it would come out as anger, as these negative behaviors. And on top of that, I was already tired. I was depleted. So if this is resonating with you and you're looking and listening to me saying, I'm at that moment, I'm feeling that right now, that I'm so tired, I don't even know what to do, but I know I need to change. Don't worry, beloved, you're not alone. A lot of people feel this way, especially right now. And the best thing that you can do for yourself is to ask yourself those important questions. And it's going to be difficult. It's going to take some time. Healing is a long process. It doesn't happen overnight. Think about it. You've experienced all these things for X amount of years. You think it's going to all of a sudden change in the next 2-3 months? No. It's going to take a lot of intention, a lot of energy, a lot of support. And you're going to have to decide day by day, moment by moment, that you want to heal and you want to continue this path. And one day you might feel like you jumped 5-10 steps, and another day you might feel like you're back at square one. But that's the path of this healing. And that's okay. But hopefully, after listening to this, you might have some clarity of why you decided to be on this journey. Which D was it that was the catalyst to make you decide that you wanted to heal? Like I said earlier, it could be because of one of them or multiple ones. But once you are clear and understand why, then you can move on to the how. Then you can start to seek the answers. But the why is most important, right? And once you have that clarity, hopefully things can be easier. So, I hope that helped. I'm so grateful that you're here. And hopefully this episode has given you a bit more clarity of which one was a catalyst for your healing journey. Write in the comments or send me a DM and let me know which D was it that made you decide to get on the healing journey. All right? I love your face. I will see you on the next episode.